In pre-Christian Ireland, the spiritual and political capital was the Hill of Tara. The High King of Ireland would hold large assemblies there. I quote now from the life of St. Patrick. It so happened in that year that a feast of pagan worship was being held, which the pagans used to celebrate with many incantations and magic rites and other superstitious acts of idolatry. There assembled the kings, satraps, leaders, princes, and the nobles of the people. Furthermore, the druids, the fortune-tellers, and the inventors and teachers of every craft and every skill were also summoned to King Leary at Tara, their Babylon, as they had been summoned at one time to Nebuchadnezzar, and they held and celebrated their pagan feast on the same night on which Holy Patrick celebrated Easter. The pagans had a custom by which nobody was allowed to light a fire until the king and his retinue had lit their fire on Tara that night. St. Patrick at this time was not far from Tara in a place called the Hill of Slane, and from here he did light a fire, thus provoking the king and his followers. The Druids actually gave the king an advice that the person who had lit this fire, if they did not put the fire out as soon as possible, he and his beliefs, his way of life, would spread over all of Ireland. King Leary was alarmed by this prophecy, and he went out with all his men towards Slane. However, upon arriving there, the Druids gave further advice, saying that they shouldn't go in to where St. Patrick was, but instead should stay outside and call him to them. This would therefore be a sign of disrespect towards St. Patrick. And furthermore, as an additional piece of advice, they said whenever he comes out, nobody should stand up, because also standing up would be a sign of respect. This then is the background for what is about to be this incredibly beautiful scene. If we imagine the Hill of Slane at night, this big fire in the background, and the pagans have arrived and called St. Patrick out. Now really, at this time, St. Patrick's life is in danger for defying this custom, but he's incredibly brave. He comes forward into their presence, and they're all seated, all angry at him really. But then in that moment, just one man out of all of the king and all his followers, just one man, suddenly he stands up. And I just find that so beautiful to imagine the intense emotions at that time. And this man who stood, therefore giving St. Patrick the great sign of respect that all the Druids had advised not to do beforehand, he himself was one of those Druids, and he believed in that moment in St. Patrick's message, the Gospels, and he would go on to be known as St. Erc of Slane. It was an incredibly symbolic action because, as one of the king's top druids, St. Erc, prior to this moment, really was like the epitome of the pre-Christian Irish society. And so I find his conversion to be symbolically like the conversion of the entire nation, because he represented that old religion, and then in this moment, in this conflict between the old religion and the new religion, his conversion is matched in this way with the conversion of Ireland as a nation. Also, I'm struck by the fact that something so meaningful, so eloquent, you could say, happened without any words actually being spoken. Now, Christianity, I do think, can be defended in an intellectual way. If you read any books on theology and approach Christianity from that way, it can reach the highest heights of the human intellect, but at the same time, even the physical appearance of a pious man is in itself a massive argument for Christianity. And Saint Erc expressed also his conversion wordlessly just by standing. It said everything. Inspired by this event, I went and visited Tara and Slane as well.